about 2 weeks, the Russian president will be able to, he'll be free politically because he won't be upsetting the Chinese by doing something during the Olympics, and he'll be ready militarily because, as I mentioned, all forces will be there. So this is the moment for us to beef up our deterrence and to try to communicate directly and indirectly to Vladimir Putin that any move on Ukraine will be dangerous for him.
Okay, Evelyn Farkas, thanks very much for your time. Former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defence for Russia, Ukraine and Eurasia. It is 6:20.
It is. So we're going to talk must-watch a little bit later, or the TV shows you should watch, or in the case of last time Scott was on, definitely don't go near with a barge pole. I've got a bone to pick with him at 6:30, so we should do that then. Poor old Glenn Hoddle, he's now getting in the...
Right, what's happening now?
When Glenn Hoddle was this is Glenn Hoddle who's had a go at Dele Alli walking on the pitch at Everton at the weekend in jeans and a jacket, saying he's being dragged off the street. Steve in Tettenhall says, when Glenn Hoddle was manager of Wolves, I saw him dining in a Chinese restaurant wearing a tracksuit. He stood out like a sore thumb. And someone else says, you can't possibly take fashion advice from someone who had a mullet, which he did back in the day.
Well, this is interesting actually. On the subject of what you need to wear for work and what's appropriate to wear for work, this texter said, I started working at a doctor's surgery as a receptionist. I was taken aside and told to dress down as the patient thought I was the new manager. Yeah. Interesting.
And also, it's confession time, and I'm not proud of it, but I just mentioned in passing that I didn't read Handful of Dust, but I still passed my English literature A-level. Jane's been on. Our mutual friend was my downfall. Still haven't read it, says Jane. And Patrick says, I confess I did the same. I didn't read Little Dorrit, but still passed my English lit. Thank you, Brody's notes. Actually, those books are cheap.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want a little confession, do let us know, 85058 at BBC5 Live. We're talking about tinnitus a lot today. We had the British Tinnitus Association on earlier. There's still no real cure, well, there isn't a cure for it. In fact, there's not enough research into it and what causes it and how it could be solved. So they want to try and set up a biobank where they collect tissue from people who have it. 7 million people in the UK suffer from tinnitus, and we spoke to quite a few today on the programme. Emma's here from Hertfordshire, I think. Hello, Emma.
Hello.
Hi. Really good to talk to you. What is your position? What happened to you?
Well, about 15 years ago, I had a bit of hearing loss in one of my ears, and I also had vertigo and all the things that some of your callers have talked about. And then I developed absolutely terrible tinnitus, and it really was a shock at the time. It's horrible and just debilitating. It's so difficult for people who haven't had it yet, I'd say, to know. But anyway, I tried lots of things. I tried help groups. I tried everything possible, and then I was absolutely despairing. In the meantime, the hearing loss stabilised, so I didn't go deaf, luckily, at that stage. And I just decided to accept it, and I decided to befriend it. I know that sounds a bit funny, but I thought, this is part of me. I've got to live with it. So what I did, I don't know, this might help some people, I just started to listen to it. Instead of hating it, the noises, whether they were whooshing or waves or pulsing or high screeches or just horrible noise, I decided to actually listen and try and really find out, what does that sound like? And the more I did that, the less it disturbed me. And I found particularly at night when tinnitus is really horrible because everything else goes quiet, and then you can really hear it, and it can really disturb you if you're having, a bit of a disturbed night or trying to get off to sleep. But then I developed this thing of just, right, I'd lie in bed and then I'd listen to it. I'd actually listen to the noises, and before I knew it, I'd fall asleep. And now, to be absolutely honest with you, it's always there, but it never bothers me.
So it's kind of, in a horrible way, it's the soundtrack to your life, but you're embracing it rather than trying to shut it out all the time.
Yes, and for me personally, I know it's not going to work for everybody, but for me, that was transformational. It really was. And just trying to show an interest in the sounds, because it is very odd if you think about it. It's all coming out of your head. Or, well, they don't know. Or is it in your ear? What is it? And the minute I did that, it did two things, really. I think the acceptance was good. It calmed me down. But the other thing was it sort of was interesting, actually. So it distracted me, and it sort of took it away. So it worked for me. And as I say, sometimes, I think the only sad thing about it now is you do realise that you will never hear again, that sound of complete silence. sometimes in the countryside or something, and that's how you know you've always still got it, because it's always there. But it doesn't bother me anymore, it really doesn't.
When you were listening to it, Emma, is there any regularity to it, any kind of rhythm, or is it just completely random?
No, it's not regular, it is random. And also, sometimes, well, I suppose everybody must be different, but sometimes it might be, really mainly kind of whooshing or waves. Sometimes it might be just really high-pitched noises. No, it's not. It is random. It's definitely random. Yes.
Well, look, Emma, I'm sure there are obviously, from the number of texts we're getting today, so many people listening to this show who suffer from tinnitus. So I really hope that helps them. I mean, the last thing I'll say to you, I was amazed earlier on speaking to the British Tinnitus Association. It's like you said, nobody knows what causes it. And you would just think with so many people suffering from it, research would have maybe got a little further. That's right. It is quite baffling because it does seem to go very frequently hand in hand with quite common conditions. Losing a bit of hearing loss. And in my particular case, it definitely came from music as well. But in my particular case, it was classical music, very, very loud. And so it's some kind of damage that you're sort of hearing inwards instead of outwards, I think. But yeah, the only thing I can say to all the sufferers, I completely understand, is just one day, just listen to it and sort of just think, this is me, it's fine, and try and calm down, because I think when you get anxious, it kind of gets even worse. And then, for example, at night when, as I say, it's particularly bad to fall asleep, then you start getting really wound up and upset as well. And for me personally, it was important to calm down around it. Well, Emma, look, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your story. Really appreciate it. Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Emma. There from Hertfordshire with her issue. It's reassuring that so many people are trying to help each other today as well. So many people. I'm so blown away with how many people are suffering with this. This one's from Peter in Cornwall. This text 85058 is the number to get in touch, by the way, if you want to join in the conversation. Tinnitus. I've been having some long COVID headaches, and when I get them, my tinnitus is strangely somehow louder. No idea what the connection is. And this one is from Simon in Hampton. I've only had tinnitus since August, straight after I had COVID. Reading up on it, it seems that tinnitus can be a side effect of COVID as well. Thank you very much for those texts. Keep them coming in. And also, in passing, the books you didn't read that you still maybe passed the exam. However, Adrian has been honest. He said, I did read Wuthering Heights the day before my A-level exam. I was supposed to have studied it for 2 years, says Adrian, but he got through it the day before. At least he read it. 85058 at BBC 5 Live. Now, it was heartbreak for GB's mixed doubles curlers at the Winter Olympics in Beijing this afternoon. They were edged out 6-5 by Norway in their semi-final. Jen Dodds and Bruce Mowat now face Sweden in the bronze medal match. It starts at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. They'll be right across that on breakfast. Rachel and Clive. It was Rachel and Clive today. I know Rick's ill at home. Rachel's ill at home, but she's broadcasting. She's a tripper, isn't she? She's doing it for her armchair. Anyway, just before we came on air, I spoke to a disappointed GB curling performance director, Nigel Holt.
We're of course disappointed for Jen and Bruce that that semi-final against a very talented Norwegian pair went the wrong way. They played very well in the game. We were looking very good for most of the game, but credit to the Norwegians for the way they finished the match off. So it's disappointing, of course. But look, there's a bronze medal match tomorrow. Jen and Bruce will be fired up coming out for that, I don't doubt. It's the first time that Team GB's had a pair competing in the mixed doubles in curling. It's only the second time the event's been in the Olympics. So here we are, first time in the Games, and we've got a bronze medal match. So game on. Yeah, and they Britain beat Sweden fairly convincingly, didn't they, in the group stage? They're 9-5 in curling terms. That seems like a decent win last time out. Yes, we did, but they're also a very talented pair of curlers. So we don't take anyone for granted. And yeah, nice to have a win in the bag with them early in the season, earlier in the competition. But they'll be looking for a bronze medal as well tomorrow. So it'll be a keen game. It'll be tough. The format of mixed doubles means that results do tend to be a bit more topsy-turvy. You can perhaps describe it as the 2020 cricket version of curling, I suppose. So occasionally you get the odd strange result thrown in there. But listen, I'm very confident that tomorrow we'll come out the right side. Jen and Bruce are very good athletes. They're well prepared.
Yeah, and they were 4-2 up against Norway. But again, in curling terms, Nigel, nothing's ever a given, I guess. The one power play, and it was suddenly, you know, they had a point on Great Britain.
Now, you've summarised it very well. 4-2 feels like a comfortable lead if you're used to following football and things like that. It's not so comfortable in curling, and particularly in mixed doubles. So you're right, the power play element's very significant in the mixed doubles game. Norway used their power play very well, to their credit. Unfortunately, the power play that we then played didn't work out quite so well for us. So that was kind of one of the key moments in the game this evening. But listen, you learn from that. Jen and Bruce will tuck it into their back pocket, take that into the game tomorrow against Sweden, and as I say, all positive, very positive.
Have you spoken to them? Will you? Do you get involved, Nigel? Do you let them sort it themselves out mentally? How does it work?
Yeah, we've had quiet conversations, not much yet. Those will be drip fed, but I've got an excellent coaching team working with them at the moment. So they're back in the village. Listen, I hope right now they're getting some food, getting their heads down, and we'll put things right in the morning, ready to go. So they're elite athletes. They're full-time athletes, Jen and Bruce. We have them training every day at the National Curling Academy in Stirling. You know, we're able to do that thanks to the lottery funding that supports elite sport in the UK so effectively. So they're used to taking knockbacks. They're used to losing games. They're used to coming out again. This is hard because it's their first Olympics. They've never been to Olympic Games before, either of them. So it's a big step. But I also know that they'll revert back to process, to what they're trained to do. They've got some excellent coaches. David Murdoch, our Olympic head coach, he himself won a silver medal in the Sochi Winter Olympic Games. So Dave's our head coach. They've got Greg Drummond working with them as a specialist mixed double coach as well. Good people, great support team around them, and Team GB will put their arms around them as well before coming back out tomorrow, I know.
That's Nigel Hall, the GB Curling Performance Director. When I came in the studio today, the highlights from the Beijing Games were on the telly, and it's taken me back to my childhood. What I used to get when I was a kid watching the Winter Olympics was ice skate stress. Do you ever have that?
What's that?
Watching them skate and thinking they're going to fall over the next minute. And someone did it, and my heart because we used to have Robin Cousins and John Kerry, people who were winning medals, great skaters, but then every leap in the air, I expected them to do the splits when they landed. I've got it back today.
Like the fear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Well,
Ice skate stress.
I sometimes get that when I'm watching the jump. You know, I was watching that actually when we came in, and I'm thinking, how much would it take for you to do that?
That's easier than
Oh,
ski jump, isn't it?
come on.
Just landing and you're twirling around in the ice skate.
Oh, I don't know. It's neither for me, to be fair.
If you want to text programme, please feel free to do so. 85058 at BBC5 Live. We're talking telly after the news and sport at 6:33.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Boris Johnson has insisted that tough targets will be set to tackle NHS waiting lists despite plans being delayed. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, said the delays were caused by the effects of the pandemic and denied that disagreements with the Treasury had been a factor. A further 350 British troops are being sent to Poland as a symbol of solidarity in the face of Russian aggression towards neighbouring Ukraine. The Defence Secretary Ben Wallace says they will be joining the 100 Royal Engineers already in Poland to show that the two countries stand side by side. GCSEs and A-level exams will be graded more generously this year to make up for the disruption COVID has had on learning. Tests rather than teacher-assessed grades will be used for the first time since the pandemic began. And a paralysed man with a severe spinal cord injury has been able to walk again thanks to an implant developed by a team of Swiss researchers. It is the first time someone who's had a complete cut to the spinal cord has been able to walk again freely. An amazing story. Delith Lloyds is here with the sport. Hi, Delith.
Hi there again, Connie. The Principality Stadium is the only Welsh venue under consideration for the joint UK and Republic of Ireland bid to host Euro 2028. The 5 associations are focusing on Euro 2028 after abandoning their bid to host the 2030 World Cup. The Scottish Football Association will hold talks with government over the potential redevelopment of Hampden Park. Well, the Chief Executive of the FA of Wales, Noel Mooney, though, says there's a great collective feeling amongst the associations.
There's a great energy between the 5 national associations. It's brilliant. We're very together, I suppose, in the bid. We feel that we've got a lot of equity in the bids. There's still details to be worked out between us in terms of stadiums and different aspects of it. But the spirit between the associations is very good. I think it's at an all-time high, actually. Together stronger. Gorai, Corai, Hit Corai, as we say here in Wales, and to win the bid together stronger.
Chelsea have agreed to pay damages to 4 former youth team players who alleged they were racially abused at the club in the 1990s. The players were suing the club and were due for a High Court hearing next month concerning alleged abuse by former coaches Gwyn Williams and Graham Ricks. But an out-of-court settlement was reached on Monday after the club decided to take the case out of the hands of its insurers. It's understood that the settlement is a 6-figure sum for each player. Everton manager Frank Lampard has defended the club's new signing Dele Alli after the England midfielder was criticised for what he was wearing during his presentation at Goodison Park on Saturday. Former England boss Glenn Hoddle said Alli looked like he'd been dragged off the street. Lampard, though, says everyone has their own individual personality, and to try to handcuff or restrict that, I think, could be detrimental. Now, as we've been hearing, Jennifer Dodds and Bruce Mowat will look to win Great Britain's first medal of the Beijing Winter Games tomorrow. The pair face Sweden in the bronze Olympic medal match. Earlier, they narrowly lost 6-5 to Norway in the semi-finals. A tough defeat to take for Mowat.
I'm just really disappointed in my kind of last 3 ends, really. I think that's going to be the toughest thing to get over. Jen played absolutely amazing all day, and just disappointed more for what I've done to the team than for myself. It's tough.
That bronze medal match will take place at 6 o'clock in the morning. You can watch it on the BBC iPlayer and BBC Two, I believe. Promoter Eddie Hearn says Katie Taylor's headline title fight against Amanda Serrano at Madison Square Gardens in April will change the face of women's boxing. It's the first female bout to headline at the iconic New York venue.
We knew this was big and we knew this was groundbreaking, but you always take a little bit of a punt when you go into the big arena at the Garden, and we're going to fill it up April 30th. It's a historic fight. I think people are starting to realise now, yes, the biggest fight in women's boxing, but one of the biggest fights in boxing, and the momentum is huge.
Yeah, should be massive, as Hearn was saying. Taylor Serrano takes place on the 30th of April. That's the latest from BBC Sports.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live. Listen live on digital, online, smart speaker, or the BBC Sounds app.
The latest trouble and the M6 in Staffordshire, so northbound at junction 15 Stoke-on-Trent. This is where 2 lanes are closed, and it's because a lorry shed a load of chemicals on the road. The D road is also looking heavy. It's struggling on the southbound side, and routes through Newcastle under Lyme have been affected. Stoke-on-Trent routes, it's just been there since about midday today. So northbound queue still there on the M6 at junction 15 and taking around half an hour. The M60 anti-clockwise, there's an accident. It's at 19 at Heaton Park, so 1 lane closed. Queues backing up as well on the clockwise side at junction 12, and that's near the Eccles interchange. There was a broken down lorry which has gone from the scene. The M2 heading towards the coast at junction 6 Faversham through to junction 7 at Brenley Corner, an accident in one of the lanes. The M25 again, it's come through now. The queue still there, 28 at Brentwood near the A12. There was a breakdown. It's still very slow, but all lanes have reopened. And the M3, now all traffic's being held at Sunbury at junction 1. It's heading north, so really slow there. Stationary on the approach. 5 vehicles still there at the scene. On Imagined 5 Live Travel.